The Pokemon Muk has seen a surprising rise in viability in Generation 9, being ranked on both the Stall viability ranking and the OU viability ranking, as well as a team with Muk on it managing to reach the number 2 position on ladder. So how did this ZU pile of goo manage to accomplish this? You may be familiar with that Hydrapple Stall team that reached number 2 on ladder a little while back, and Muk functions very similarly to how Hydrapple did on that team, namely by being a knockoff absorber through the use of the ability Sticky Hold. Being able to absorb knockoff is critical for stall teams in the current meta, due to the difficulty of removing hazards. Avoiding hazard damage is critical for stall, as hazards force progress against a team, something stall as a playstyle needs to avoid at all costs. Typically, this was done through the use of hazard removal, such as Rapid Spin and Defog. However, in Generation 9, both of these moves had decreased distribution, making hazard removal much more difficult. Beyond just that, the Pokemon Gholdengo stops almost all relevant forms of hazard removal, and completely walls Corviknight, the best stall hazard remover, meaning that there are both less hazard removers, and the ones that do exist struggle to remove hazards. 3 main hazard removers exist, with Corviknight being the best remover against Gholdengo-less teams, and Cyclizar and Talonflame being used in part because of how good they are against Gholdengo. Other removers do exist, namely Galarian Weezing, Great Tusk, and Mandibuzz. However, all 3 are very difficult to slot onto a stall team. This lack of removal has led to boot spam being an incredibly common strategy for stall, with many stall teams running 4 to 5 members of the team with heavy-duty boots. Many stall teams forego removal entirely, hoping to rely solely on heavy-duty boots. However, the move Knockoff can remove heavy-duty boots, and along with Spikes and Stealth Rock, can easily make progress against opposing stall teams. This is where the role of the Knockoff Absorber comes into play. The role of the Knockoff Absorber is simple: switch into Knockoff and not immediately lose any match relevance from losing an item. The main Knockoff Absorber on any stall team is Gliscor, who takes minimal damage from hazards due to its typing, and doesn't mind Toxic Orb being knocked off. Clefable is also a solid knockoff absorber, due to Magic Guard making it fully immune to hazards. Corviknight is also a solid knockoff absorber, because, just like Gliscor, it doesn't take much damage from hazards. However, with Stealth Rocks up, the opponent can force progress against a knocked Corviknight, which is something to keep in mind. And this is where Muk and Hydrapple come into play. Both have the ability Sticky Hold, which prevents item removal, namely, knockoff. And both Muk and Hydrapple are key knockoff absorbers. Gliscor is the best of the knockoff absorbers, but struggles in the role of being a sole knockoff absorber, due to being weak to many key knockoff users. Meowscarada and Weavile can both one-hit KO Gliscor with Triple Axle, and threaten the rest of your team with knockoff. Great Tusk as well can threaten Gliscor with Ice Spinner, and also carries knockoff. Clefable can also be a big nuisance for Gliscor, as Moonblast deals a solid amount to Gliscor. Though, that's not to say Gliscor is fully useless as a knockoff absorber. It can be a decent check to both Rillaboom and Roaring Moon, though it can struggle with both of these. Hence, Hydrapple and Muk. With Terastallization, Hydrapple can handle the knockers that beat Gliscor, such as Meowscarada and Weavile. Though this does beg the question, why not Terastallize Gliscor? Well, remember what I said earlier. Gliscor relies on its typing to avoid hazard damage. By Terastallizing, Gliscor opens itself up to take heavy damage from hazards every time it switches in. Hydrapple, on the other hand, uses Boots for immunity, so it doesn't take hazard damage, even after Terastallizing. However, using Terra on Hydrapple can be a major problem for stall, as Terra may be needed to deal with key threats such as Psyshock Haterene or Ogerpon Wellspring. This can make Hydrapple tough to use, as without Terra, Meowscarada and Weavile decimate it. And this is where Muk finds its main niche. Muk is a Sticky Hold user who doesn't need to Terastallize, which is incredibly useful for stall. In fact, Muk will almost never Terastallize, as opposed to Hydrapple. The poison typing just lends itself to being a good type for what Muk is trying to do. However, in return for not needing to Terastallize, Muk has a very mediocre defensive profile. 105 HP and 100 special defense isn't bad, but 75 defense just doesn't cut it for a physical wall. Though do keep in mind, this is a better defensive profile than Clefable, another solid knockoff absorber. Another leg up it has on Hydrapple is access to knockoff. Knockoff is a critically important move, both to be used against stall and use on it, as it forces progress. Muk being unable to lose an item to knockoff but being able to force removal makes it great at making progress against opposing teams. Muk also tends to run Poison Jab as a method of spreading poison, and dealing damage to Ogerpon and Haterene. Between these two moves, Muk forces progress on almost everything that isn't Gliscor, and even then, it can waste Gliscor's power points. Muk unfortunately lacks reliable recovery, and thus needs to use Rest Talk. Though this isn't a major issue, as there really isn't 4 moves Muk wants to run. Both Curse and Haze would be nice, but neither is really good enough to justify running over the combination of Rest Talk, Knockoff, and Poison Jab. While Muk rarely Terras, there are some instances where it can be very useful to Terastallize. Terra Grass is my personal favorite, as it helps you beat non-Swords Dance Gliscor sets, and makes it easier to knock off Samurai Hisui. It can also help you take an attack from Ogerpon Wellspring, but generally you would rather just Terastallize on Dozo for that. Though Terra Dragon is better against Ogerpon, as it resists Ogerpon's 2 stabs. Terra Steel can help for Iron Valiant and Stored Power Sweepers, both of which can be major threats to stall. Lastly, Terra Poison can give you a chance to OHKO both Iron Valiant and Ogerpon Wellspring, with the chance becoming much more likely with Hazard Chip. Just in general, Muk is incredibly useful against a lot of Pokemon Stall struggles with. Clefable, for example, is incredibly difficult to remove on stall, as Magic Guard prevents all passive damage, which is Stall's main way of forcing progress, as well as carrying Knockoff, which will force progress against your team. Muk can be used to win Gliscor PowerPoint wars, as it doesn't need to worry about switching into a predicted Knockoff, though Earthquake can be annoying. Mind you, it's still only 3-hit KOs. Muk is a solid check to Swords Dance Valiant, as it can take Knockoff and threaten heavy damage back with Poison Jab. Muk can also check Mixed Dragapult, as Muk has a decent special defense stat, even when uninvested. Mixed Pult can easily break an unprepared stall team, and Muk helps significantly. Muk can also handle the different trick users in the tier quite well, as Sticky Hold blocks Trick. Tricking the choice item onto a Stallmon is often crippling, but Muk prevents that from happening, something that Clefable and Gliscor can't do. Muk can also check Ogerpon and some Rillaboom sets, both of which are great at breaking stall teams wide open. And like I said at the beginning of this video, Muk can serve as a good switch into Meowscarada and Weavile, 2 Pokemon that in conjunction with Spikes, quite easily tear stall teams to shreds. And the fact that Muk sees any real use at all, much less reaching second on ladder, is a testament to how powerful Hazards and Knockoff are right now. If this Pokemon that's languished in the lower tiers for ages now is now a B-rank Stallmon, Hazards and Knockoff are truly in an exceptionally strong state. Also, for those of you wondering why Muk is used instead of Alolan Muk, it's because Alolan Muk doesn't actually get Sticky Hold, instead getting Gluttony. If Alolan Muk did get Sticky Hold, it could likely be a better pick than Muk, as the Dark typing is a great complement to the Poison typing, and would only make its matchups against Knockoff users and Psychic types like Haterene even better. Also, cause Stab Knockoff is decently powerful. However, losing a Fairy and fighting resistance would be unfortunate, as Iron Valiant could destroy you with close combat, and Clefable could deal a decent amount with Moonblast. Which one being better would be up in the air, but both could be said to be decently good, if Alolan Muk did get Sticky Hold. Thanks for watching, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving it a like, and if you didn't, consider disliking and telling me what I could improve in the next video. Also, I now have a Patreon, which I'll hopefully be able to add more benefits to as time goes on. Also, sorry about how long this video took to make, hopefully the next one will be out a bit sooner. Also, thank you to Knexhawk for helping make this video possible. Anyways, I've been Blip Exists, hope to see you later.